What is going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about, and believe me when I say lock in. Okay, lock in because you are not going to want to miss this video. I genuinely mean it. I got some juicy stuff to talk about here. So, first things first, we're looking at the ES. We're looking at this rising wedge pattern, and so far we rolled back into this rising wedge pattern. If you don't know, this is a very bearish pattern. Now, what's interesting is that we gapped up yesterday, whether you call it a contract renewal, which it actually was, or a gap up, it doesn't necessarily matter. We still gapped up, and right now it looks like we're trying to fill this gap. So tomorrow we do have rate cut news. So do not be surprised if we see some type of sell off. If we do see a sell off, I genuinely believe, and I could be wrong, that it is a trap. Okay, it is a trap. That's just me. Do what you want with the information. I could be wrong, but if we do see a sell off tomorrow heading into that news, it could lead into a bear trap. So once we fill this gap, all right, once we fill this gap, what do we know about gaps? We know that gaps have very strong support and resistance. So if we hit 6,080 tomorrow prior to that rate cut news, we could see a bounce from here. And once again, I still remain on that target of 6,200. We can head as high as about 6,300 if we're really being crazy. Why 6,300? Well, if we go to the daily time frame, and we zoom out here, we can break out of here and we can start heading towards this much bigger channel, to the top of this much bigger channel. As you guys can see, we rejected here, rejection here, rejection here. So we can head all the way back up here to 6,300. Ironic enough, that's Tom Lee's target for the year, or at least for 2025. So pretty ironic that that is the top of this channel. We'll have to see what happens. NQ. All right, so NQ, pretty much the same thing. We're looking at a rising channel. We go to the 4-hour time frame. We broke above this rising channel. We gapped up yesterday, and it looks like we're trying to fill this void right here before potentially bouncing from here. So I will look for a move towards 22,150, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. So there's very much potential as long as we stay above this channel for more upside. Now, if we roll back into this channel, then there is a chance for a move towards 21,800. Again, do not be surprised if we see some type of sell off tomorrow. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I just want you to be mentally prepared for that move. So wait 30 minutes into open before you start, going crazy with calls or puts, whatever the case may be. Just give it some time before you go crazy. Again, like I said in the last video, you want to be cautious tomorrow because I imagine between tomorrow and Friday, the market is going to go ballistic in either direction. So be prepared. SPY, we're moving fast for a reason, all right? Because we got some juicy stuff to talk about. SPY, what do we talk about multiple times? 604. 604 is your key level you want to watch out for. As long as we stay above 604, we're fine. Honestly, as long as we stay above 598, we're fine. Okay, we talked about that level plenty of times. If you're new to this channel, 598. If you give up 598, all right, if you give up 598, you're going to see domestic violence across the market. And we're not talking about a regular street fight. We're talking about that type of fight your mom and dad has, and then he goes to the store and gets some milk and never comes back. I might be projecting a little there, but regardless, we're looking at the SPY 598 level. As long as we stay above that, bulls, you have nothing to worry about. Bears, if you want to see the market just go to straight to the abyss, to the Earth's core, that's what you want to see give up 598, and we can start heading as low as the 570s. We talked about that target before. We'll talk about it again if we just so happen to give up 598. But other than that, SPY is looking okay. Okay, we're just consolidating here. There's not much to talk about here. If we give up, if we break above 608.5, 608.6, there is potential for 610. After that, you're looking at 612. Highest I'm looking at is about 614, which is the top of this channel right here. So that's what we're looking at for the SPY. Let's zoom out so we can get a better idea on what we're looking at here. But as you guys can see, 598, we got it marked here. And then that 608.5, 608.6 targeted, we got it marked here. So either direction, right now, we're just really consolidating here, and then we'll have to see what happens from here. But as you guys can see, I mean, 602, remember, I kept talking about 602 as well. You give up 604, you're heading towards 602, but notice where we're consolidating. We're consolidating right above 602, which is why I said when we broke below that rising wedge pattern, that I wasn't convinced until we broke above below 602, and we just could not do that. So right now we're just consolidating within this area on the SPY. We'll have to see what happens. I imagine a move is actually going to be made tomorrow. Triple Qs. So triple Qs looks like it's just pretty much going to head towards at least 530. If it gives up 534, then it will head towards 530. But right now, triple Qs looks fine. As you guys can see, we zoom out. Let's go to the daily time frame just to get a better idea here. But as you guys can see, we hit the top of this much bigger rising wedge. We talked about the smaller rising wedge here, and then we hit the top of this much bigger rising wedge, and then we saw an immediate rejection. So it's funny when people tell me all I care about is wedges, but I mean they work. I mean, look what happened. We hit the top of this and we just rejected. So they work, okay? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, okay? So right now, chances are we can head towards 530 if we give up 534 on the triple Qs, and then from there we'll have to see what happens. But for now, highest target we could be looking at, if we're just being crazy, we can look at a move to 540. After 540, we can head as high as about 548, 550s. Now, I don't see that being possible right now, but we'll see how it plays out. Okay, maybe Santa Rally happens or whatever the case may be, and we see that move play out. But for now, triple Qs is in a weird spot. I wouldn't be too optimistic and more upside. It looks like it's very limited. If we want to go by something, I would just go by what the Nasdaq is showing us, because the Nasdaq actually has space to the upside right now. So that's what I would be going by in regards to the triple Qs. Bitcoin. All right, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin still looks fine. I still have a target. I told you guys my first target was 108 thousand, 108,000. As long as it stays above 102,000. We got really close to that target. Did we hit that target today? Oh, we did. Okay, yeah, we hit that target today. So congratulations if you followed that. We've been talking about that target for like ever. As long as we get above 102,000, I still have a price target of 110,000 on Bitcoin. 110, 111,000. Highest we're looking at for the year, but the beginning of next year, I'm looking at about 115, 120K. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I really have nothing bad to say about it. I mean, Bulls and bears are just fighting it out here, so nothing too crazy to say. What I will say is if we do get some type of sell off and Bitcoin reacts to it, there is potential for another retest at 103,600. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Last up is the VIX, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Okay, so VIX. The VIX is the VIX is still just. I gave you guys a target of 16. The market is not really reacting to it. I mean, we got somewhat of a sell off, and right now the VIX is at 1588. So yeah, I mean, we broke above this falling wedge. Crazy because people keep telling me I can't plot the VIX, and here we are plotting the VIX, and it's following the exact move I said. So 16 is what I'm looking at for the VIX. We're pretty much there, so we're just gonna take credit for that. After 16, you're looking at a move to 18. Then after that, you're looking at a gap fill to 20. Now, what I will say is that again, if we get a sell off tomorrow, it just could be a delayed reaction to the VIX. Okay, we're not really seeing the market react to this move on the VIX, so it could just be a delayed reaction. And if we do get a sell off tomorrow, then you should not be surprised, because it could just simply be a reaction to, or a final reaction to the VIX actually breaking out. So 16 is what I'm looking at. We're not really seeing much of a benefit from this breakout on the VIX right now in regards to the market. The market is kind of still doing its own things. Sure, we got somewhat of a sell off, but it was nothing really crazy, at least in my opinion. So falling wedge, we're breaking out this falling wedge. If we just so happen to break down, not break down, but see a further move to the upside in regards to the market, then that would show me that we're just pretty much heading towards this gap fill all the way towards 14. Once again on the VIX, retest about 13.8, 14, and then start seeing more upside from there. So 18 is my next target from here. Um, Obviously with a retest inbound, and then after that, highest I'm looking at least for the short term, is this 20 strike gap fill. So that's what I'm looking at for the VIX. Now we get into the good stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about semiconductors. We're going to talk about MU earnings, because I got a lot to talk about when it comes to MU earnings. You guys are not going to miss that. So Nvidia, all right. So Nvidia, the reason why I said did it like that, because I always misspell it somehow. So Nvidia is looking okay. Okay, so Nvidia reclaimed 130 at close. That is a great sign. Okay, what we would like to see is it to roll back above at least 133, 133.5, and then we can start heading back towards 136. Highest I'm looking at is about 142. There is a fair value gap around this area, where you see this really a liquid area. There is a fair value gap that needs to be mitigated here between 136 and 142. So I do think Nvidia is going to pull this move off. I really don't have no doubts about it. It's just a matter of how it's going to pull it off. Maybe it gets personal news, maybe it just reacts to the news we get tomorrow, rate cut news. But regardless, semiconductors are starting to look like they are ready to go crazy, and I'm going to continue to show you guys why. But watch out for NVIDIA. Like I said, we're still in those 135 calls for, I keep forgetting the date. 135 calls for January 17th, I believe. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless, 135 calls for January. Nvidia looks fine as long as we stay above 130. And so that leads me to the semiconductor ETF SMH. And this is when I want you guys to really start paying attention, because this is where everything is going to start adding up. All right. So SMH. So I told you guys about this rising wedge pattern that SMH is doing, right? But one thing we know about SMH, and I don't have it up, but SMH always respects the 200 daily SMA. You kind of gotta, imagine that it's here, but right here, rejection off the 200 daily SMA, 200 daily SMA here, rejection here, rejection here. This was the 200 daily SMA as well. So one thing SMH always does, majority of the time, is respect the 200 daily SMA. And so if we're assuming that, then we have to assume that we could see a bounce from here, where we're already seeing a bounce, but we could see further upside from here. And I do think that's going to happen. I think SMH is going to start heading towards 255, especially if it rolls back into this rising wedge pattern. Now, this is where things get interesting, right? The weekly time frame. The weekly time frame. What do you see on the weekly time frame? You have a symmetrical triangle. And right now we are outside of the symmetrical triangle on the weekly time frame, okay? And on the smaller time frames, okay? So if we stay above this, okay, come tomorrow, come the rest of this week, SMH can go absolutely parabolic, which will lead, obviously Nvidia and other semiconductors to go crazy. So I would definitely pay attention to this. Right now, this overrules this falling wedge pattern, or this rising wedge pattern. So definitely be on the lookout for this. I do think SMH, as long as it stays above 250, there is potential for a move to 255. Now we go back down to the daily time frame. Again, so lock in, okay? Really, really lock in here, okay? Because this is all going to lead up to MU earnings. All right, so gap fill 270, okay? 270 fair value gap is all the way up here, um, at the top of this rising wedge, okay? Look at where this is. At the top of this rising wedge is 270. I think semiconductors are going to go ballistic soon, guys. I do. Okay, I really, really do. Okay, so that leads me to next MU. Okay, MU earnings. MU has earnings tomorrow after hours. Okay, I think they're going to beat. Okay, and I'm going to give you guys tons of reason why they're going to beat. One, falling wedge pattern right here. Now, again, like I said, tomorrow we may see a sell off. Okay, we might see a sell off. If we see a sell off, I imagine that MU is going to retest the neckline of this double bottom. Okay, at 103. Okay, so I want you guys to be prepared for that, mentally prepared for that if that happens. And if that does happen, that's a beautiful move, okay? You shouldn't be mad at that move, okay? And especially if we beat on earnings, okay? So double bottom, bottom here, bottom here. You got your neckline at the gap fill at 103. So let's mark that out if I can find it. Yeah, so let's mark that out. Here we go. Boom. Nice little gap fill. So if we do get some type of sell off tomorrow, do not be shocked. Do not panic. Boom. You retest. You start heading towards 127. Why 127? So when I was trying to figure out what we're going to do in the Discord in regards to MU earnings, I was trying to see what areas have not been retested. And so this is what I do all the times when predicting earnings. So far, we won 5 out of 6 earnings so far. So we're going to try to make this another win here. But right now, in regards to MU earnings, anytime I look at earnings in general, I look for areas that hasn't been retested. This area right here has never been retested. Okay. This is what earnings like to do. They like to mitigate fair value gaps. They like to clear out gaps. They like to clear out areas that's never been retested. So 127 has never been retested. We gapped down, but we never came back. We attempted to come back multiple times, but we never came back. So that leads me to believe that MU is going to beat earnings. Okay, I can be wrong. It's earnings. Okay, it's 50-50. Do not take this at face value. Do your own research. But I am leading towards MU beating earnings and possibly heading towards 127. This gap fill, we never retested this area. You have a falling wedge here. If we sell out tomorrow, watch for a move towards 103 and then a bounce from there and you start heading higher. Okay, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe you need more. So we go to our Discord. And so our bot alerted 115 calls. So the whales are currently in 115 calls for February 21st, 2000. 25. I was about to say 2015. I don't know where I was getting that from, but regardless, MU 115 calls for February 21st, 2025, with a 1.01 million premium. So now we go to quant data. We talked about quant data before. Link is in the description below if you want access to this data. And so we look these contracts up on quant data. And again, if you don't have an options chain, or if you're following someone who runs a Discord or a YouTuber or whoever who doesn't use an options chain, you should not be following them in regards to trading. That's just my opinion. Do what you want. Maybe they're winning, maybe they're doing great. I don't know. But regardless, we look up these contracts, okay? So February 21st, right? February, what is it? February 21st, 115 calls for MU, and it's not loading. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so 115 calls, and so it's going to populate and it's going to look insane in a few seconds, minutes, hours. Here we go. All right, so MU, look at what these exchanges are doing. Look at all this green. I mean, it looks beautiful. Okay, we scroll over so you guys can get like a much better view here. So we look up the contracts, MU, right? 115 calls right here. Okay, so you see the number 115 calls. They were loaded at 109.14, right? And then you have they're all at the ask. Okay, all of these are at the ask, guys. You don't find not one at the bid. Okay, premiums right here, sentiment bullish, and then you see the exchanges that are trading it here, Amex, Max, all that fun stuff, whatever. But regardless, institutions are in these contracts. 115 calls for February 21st. But maybe that's not enough. Maybe we can look up more calls, okay? We click on another spike, okay? We're gonna be a minute, okay? It's a lot of information to load, so bear with me here. But regardless, once again, you click these are two different spikes, okay? They loaded up more calls for 115, guys. Again, okay? This one right here, 209K premium, 209K premium, 209K premium. I mean, hopefully you guys can see the premium right here. I mean, I don't know. Okay. I don't know. Again, earnings is 50-50. It's a complete gamble, but you do what you want with this information. Okay. You do what you want with this information. Always do your own research. All right. So they doubled down on these contracts for February. What was it? February 21st. Let's actually check this one right here. I don't think I clicked on this one. I don't think I even looked at that one. But let's see. Let's see if they triple down. Okay. They triple down. They triple down, guys. All right. So 115 calls, definitely want to pay attention to it. You don't have to play earnings, of course, but if you want to watch and see how it plays out, and if it does play out, you should really consider joining my Discord. Okay. If it doesn't play out, then yeah, I might delete my channel. Anyway, regardless, I'm just kidding. But regardless, MU, okay, definitely watch for that move because institutions are loading up. But maybe that's not enough. Maybe you need a little more push. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's do that. All right, SOXL. Okay, SOXL. MU falls under SOXL. It falls under SMH as well, but SOXL I think has a bigger holding. I could be wrong there, but when you look at SOXL, what do you have? You have this falling channel. You can argue it's a falling wedge. We're going to call it a falling channel. And right now, it is breaking out of this channel right here on the daily time frame. We go to the 4-hour time frame, and as you guys can see, we broke out. We're currently retesting it. I don't know. Signs are pointing towards a breakout that's going to happen on MU earnings. I could be wrong, okay? Again, it's earnings. It's a 50-50 chance. All right. But regardless, it's looking really good. And I mean, look at how many gaps and fair value gaps we have to the upside, guys. We have a gap all the way at 50. I'm not saying MU is going to cause that move because it possibly it could not do that for SOXL. SOXL does not move like that. But you do have a short-term gap at all the way at 35, guys. So if you wanted to play a sentiment type move, go for XOXL. Okay. That's, you can do that. All right. And then look how much we've been selling off, okay, on the XOXL. So we need something. Okay. XOXL needs something to come back to life. Look how much it's been selling off. This is a daily time frame. And right now, we're currently breaking out on SOXL. So something to pay attention to. Can it be a false breakout? Sure. But what I will say is if we do get a sell off tomorrow and we fill this gap and we stop at this gap at 28.8, there is potential for a bounce from there. It could be a bear trap once again. All right. So That's what I got for MU. Okay, hopefully you guys put it all together. Hopefully it's all making sense. Do your research, do your due diligence. As always, do not take my word for it. But if you want to see how we're going to trade MU, if we're going to trade MU earnings, Discord link is in the description below. Tomorrow, be very careful, be very cautious. We have rate cut news. Do not be surprised if we get a sell off. Again, I'm not guaranteeing a sell off or anything like that. I'm just saying be mentally prepared for one. Okay. Best thing you can do is sit on cash. All right. Do what you want with this information. Other than that, that's really all I have, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video. If you want me to do more earnings plays like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and even comment your thoughts. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. And if you do, either or, just keep it respectful as always. Until the next video, traders, you have a good one.